G'day there, guys. It's Munga 3 here, and it's time for the Daily Diary. Your favourite time of day and my favourite time of day. A friend of mine said to me the other day about how the Daily Diary is just turning into a whole bundle of phrases that I just say one after the other. It made me laugh, but he's right. But I've just been watching a documentary, and I watched a documentary that was going on a similar angle yesterday, and it talked about like who are we as people, and what is it that we all strive for, and what is it that we all need in our lives. And one similar concept, which isn't actually a concept, it's a real thing, was love and community. And it got me thinking about why I started the Daily Diary in the first place, and in my own life, of course, because I originally started the diary to be a platform of where I could express my own needs, not my own needs, my own, just as a voice of expression, I suppose, that with the idea and hope that it would develop into more, so I could use it as a tool that would help the world. And the idea of community really was pointed out a lot in some of these documentaries that I've watched. Like this one I was watching, this woman was talking about how she lived in a communal housing in Norway. So she lived with her children in more like a room that was a part of a ginormous house. It was massive, and she lived there with quite a few other families as well. And what they did was, I don't know, it was kind of like communism in a way, but it wasn't, because it actually worked. But anyway, it's difficult. I think I'm having trouble explaining what I'm feeling. So the documentary I just watched was called I Am, and I think a lot of people probably gain a great deal from watching it, because it talked about how, like, the question was asked at the start, what's wrong with the world? And throughout the journey that the one man made, I can't remember his name, he was a film director who sustained an injury that changed his life and also almost killed him through suicide, but he and eventually come good from it. And then he realised that it wasn't what was wrong with the world, he discovered what was right with it. And I find that's probably more important, because like I've said before, you can't control people, but you can have an impact. Like, don't hate your enemies, love your enemies. Show them that there's a different way to feel. Like, only take what you need, which is something I think about living here in Canada. You can only have so much, because we working here on the hill, you make very little money, but you have things like, I've got the biggest backyard I think I'll possibly ever own, even though I don't own it, but it's mine, and there's the communities that's here. Like, everyone works and does their part, and your rewards are quite big. So yeah, I don't think I've really conveyed what I wanted to say here very well. I've got a lot floating around in this brain of mine. But I reckon I'll probably watch this documentary again. It's a good one. There's a few other ones that I want to watch that are closely related in that sort of field of thinking. But it's good. One thing I found interesting was it talked about like ancient civilizations, and how Like they'd go hunting and bring back the food for the whole community and everyone would eat. And how it's changed to the point where now one person hunts and brings home only for themselves. And that was considered to be a mental illness way back then. And the human body's the same. Like the human body, when you eat food, it takes what it needs and discards the rest. When you keep putting food into your body beyond that point, it builds like fat cells, right? But the body only takes what it needs and discards the rest. And then when the body keeps taking more than it needs, it's called cancer. And that's actual science. This documentary also talked about a little bit of, it didn't go into it in great depth, but the history of science and how science in history has been wrong. Like it was once fact that the world was flat. We now know that's not true. Just like it was once fact that the world was the centre of the universe, which we also know is now not true. So I think people that put all their faith in science, which that's fine, but don't put all your eggs in one basket. Hold on to things. When I say like religion, I probably more mean your spiritual connection to the world more than your connection with a higher being, a supreme being, if you want. Because we're all connected, whether we like it or not. We're all connected, and it showed it's actual science that when your heart beats, it sends out like a wave into the world, and other people can feel it, and it can create emotion. So that made me think a lot more about our connection in general, and how happiness is directly related to community involvement and being a part of community and having love in your life. For all things, not just necessarily for someone, but just having a love for the blue sky and the green grass. Anyway, we should probably wrap this up because I'll keep going and we don't all have time right now to keep talking about this, but I'll probably bring this up again. So peace, love and Mustafa. It's a good show and I've got the apple.